Hi everyone, I'm Reena Ninan. Rachna, the young woman featured in Nepal, The Lost Girls, was recently awarded $5,000 from the Freedom Forum. She says she plans to use that money for scholarships to send 10 students to her school. The stats on child marriage say so much. Some 700 million women alive today were married as children, and some of those women are in the United States. In addition to hearing about the problem abroad, you'll hear the story of one American whose parents forced her into marrying a man who turned out to be violent. So let's get started. Our discussion on Nepal, The Lost Girls, starts now. It's truly impossible to blame child marriage on just one factor. From cultural traditions to economic struggles, the complexities of the problem are just as varied as the people affected by it. Hundreds of organizations and thousands of people are dedicated to stopping child marriage, including Lakshmi Sundaram. She's the executive director of Girls Not Brides. Nisha Varia is the advocacy director of the Women's Rights Division at Human Rights Watch. Cornelius Williams is the associate director and global chief of UNICEF's Child Protection Program. And Rachel Vogelstein is a senior fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations and the director of the Women and Foreign Policy Program. Thank you all for being with us and joining us. Lakshmi, I want to start with you. We know child marriage has been illegal in Nepal since 1963, yet 37% of children in Nepal are married before 18. Why is that? Are the laws not enforced there?
Well, I think what's clear is that the law by itself is not enough. And there's a whole host of reasons why the laws are not enforced. First of all, about a quarter of girls and boys even know that there's a minimum legal age of marriage. Child marriage is a social norm. It's culturally acceptable. And the police and government officials at a local level don't work to enforce the law. And so what's clear is that on top of just putting in place a law, we need to work directly with girls to empower them, to make sure that they know and are able to exercise their rights. We need to work with families and communities to make sure that they're supportive of efforts to end child marriage. We need to ensure that there are services available for both married girls and unmarried girls, and a supportive legal and policy environment. We saw Rachna reaching out to the Prime Minister. That's incredibly important when you're trying to change some deep-seated social norms, to have some of the highest, most respected people in the government speaking out on behalf of these girls.
Yeah, she said that was one of the highlights of her life, being able to shake hands with the Prime Minister and push for this. You know, there was one really telling moment for me when I was there. I actually want to play that moment for you now. What will happen to the girl?
Studying in boarding school.
And so what does she think will happen after she's done with her school?
यो विद्यालय सिद्धिएपछि चाहिँ के गर्ने अनि भविष्यमा के बन्ने भन्ने केही सोच्नु भएको छ?
डाक्टर बन्ने पुरा सबलाई सुई लगाउने.
She wants to be a doctor.
त्यही त बन्ने कि पेलेन उडाउनु पर्यो केटा भए.
Either she has to fly the plane or be a doctor or something like that.
Stop not.
The mother-in-law was incredibly animated, and I think you can say she sort of poked fun at me for asking what she wanted to be in life, and said, well, pilot, a doctor. And it was clear that everyone around her laughed because they knew the Americans are in town, and I think they kind of got the sense of what we were interested in filming. It was clear that they were mocking us. This was the potential future mother-in-law of the bride. The marriage was ultimately canceled. Rachel, child marriage is a mindset in Nepal, and your research has found that it's not only dangerous physically, but also economically. How so?
We've found really clear evidence through our research that the effects of child marriage are incredibly negative, not only for a girl and her family, but for entire communities and, importantly, economies. The World Bank has concluded that even one extra year of schooling beyond the average increases future wages by 10 to 20%. And we know that increasing the share of girls with a secondary education increases GDP. So these benefits vanish from the global economy when girls' education is cut short by child marriage. Similarly, with respect to global health, we see dire effects when girls are married as children. One of the leading causes of death for girls aged 15 to 19 in the developing world is early pregnancy and childbearing, which is a result of early marriage. And these poor health effects redound not only to the girls, but also to their future children. Children are less likely to receive immunizations. They are less likely to receive proper nutrition. They're more likely to have low birth weight when their mothers give birth at a young age. So to improve global health, to improve economic growth, we need to think about ending this practice as a development priority.
Nisha, people are paid when you marry off a daughter. The boy's family gets money. How does a dowry system incentivize child marriage?
There's often an expectation that the parents of a girl must pay a large dowry, and this is often way beyond their means. And one way they can sometimes get out of paying that dowry, the dowry may increase as the girl's age increases. The dowry may also increase if the groom has a higher level of education. So one incentive is to get the girl married young before that dowry increases. And while there are these cultural factors, looking at the discrimination that takes place in Nepal, it's no surprise that the communities that are often the least able to access government health services, government education, and economic empowerment programs are the communities that are affected by child marriage.
Cornelius, we know the government of Nepal had originally said 2020 they want to completely eliminate child marriage. Then they pushed it back to 2030. You're in the field. You see these governments at play with these communities. Why is it so hard to get the government to back this?
I think actually we have to remind ourselves the importance of these girls and the role they play in the community and the society. And 2030 is not far away, it's just round the corner. And we need to now start putting, governments need to invest in the measurement as well as the other things National has said, so that we can be able to measure how we're bringing it down, that we are on the pathway of eradicating the scourge.
Interesting insights. We're going to have to leave it there. Nisha, Cornelius, Rachel, and Lakshmi, thank you for your time.